Hi everyone, I'm Juan Pablo from Español and English Private Tutoring. Today I'm going to talk about verbs, some common verbs in Spanish. I'm going to talk in English and Spanish. For those who want to practice Spanish, you can use your translator to try to figure out what I'm saying. Pause the video and try to figure it out. You want to practice pronunciation. You can record your own voice trying to say whatever I'm saying in Spanish and then compare it with my pronunciation by pausing the video or by slowing down the video using YouTube. If you want to learn Spanish, please visit our website at espeng.net. I'm going to put it here, espeng.net. The very videos that I'm going to explain now are very important, but I'm not going to go too deep into this because some of these verbs can have up to 60 different meanings, not even including expressions. So they can have many translations into English. I'm just going to give you the meanings that are the most common and whatever comes into my mind. I'm not going to go into this too deep because it will take too long. If you have any questions, leave them in the comments and we will try to get back to you as soon as possible. If you are a student, you know what to do. If you're a student, please follow along with the book. We are going to start with page 148, verb 67. Please take notes. And if you have any questions, as I said, you know what to do if you're a student. If you're a student, this is a good video for you to learn new verbs and some grammar. Bueno, vamos a comenzar. Vamos con la página 148, el verbo 67, el cual es el verbo parar. Entonces, ejemplos. Por favor, paren de fumar. Por favor, paren de fumar. Ella se paró ayer en la esquina para esperar a su esposo. Ella se paró. Vamos a cambiar esto al español. Ella se paró ayer en la esquina para esperar a su esposo. Por favor, párense. Párense. Por favor, pare. Y una más. A, B, C, D, E. Ella se para enfermando. Todos se para enfermando en el invierno. Se para enfermando en el invierno. And that's enough. So A, por favor, paren de fumar. Please stop smoking. You want to talk about an action, like to stop an action, you have to use the preposition de. So you have to use the verb parar plus de plus a verb in the infinitive form. B, ella se paró ayer en la esquina para esperar a su esposo. Notice that this verb, parar, is using the reflexive pronoun say. This means that this verb is reflexive in this case. In this case, in A is an intransitive verb. It means it doesn't have a direct object, which I'm going to explain shortly this for those who don't understand this topic. But if you are, we will learn this later. So I'm not going to go too deep into this. So, por favor, paren de fumar is an intransitive verb because it doesn't have a direct object. Direct object means that the action falls directly into something. So if I say, please start smoking cigarettes, the action of stop smoking falls directly into cigarettes. So cigarettes is a direct object. In this case, A doesn't have a direct object because it's not falling into anything, so it's an intransitive verb. Transitive verbs are those who have a direct object, which in this case will be, if I say, por favor, paren de fumar, cigarrillos. If I say, let me put it here, paren de fumar cigarrillos, please stop smoking cigarettes. Cigarrillos, as I said before, is a direct object, so in this case, the verb is transitive. In this case, the verb is reflexive. That means the action is falling on the subject itself. It's much more complex than that, and I'm going to go into too much into the grammar with this, but that's the general concept. In Spanish, reflexive verbs are extremely common, not so much in English. So a reflexive verb in English, like when you say myself, herself, like I cannot come up with any example, but any action in English that you do on yourself or a person does in himself and so on is reflexive. So in Spanish, when you change a verb from the transitive or intransitive form to the reflexive form, normally changes the meaning of the meaning of the verb. And sometimes they can change the meaning also when you transfer them to intransitive or to transitive and so on. Okay, so this one. Ella se paró ayer en la esquina para esperar a su esposo. She stood up at the corner of the street to wait for her husband. To, it's like to stand up somewhere. Okay. Now, C is also reflexive, but this one doesn't mean that the person was standing up. This is a command asking the person to stand up, which is different. So you leave it without more context, like this. C is you are telling the person, or you are saying that the person stood up, was sitting down and stood up, or you are giving a command, please stand up. D, notice here that the verb is not reflexive. So this means please stop. It changes the meaning completely. And E, ella se para enfermando en el invierno. This is an expression which you don't have in English. So this means she keeps getting sick in winter. You want to say to keep doing something, you use the verb parar plus another verb in the gerund form. Okay. In this case, I'm using the reflexive pronoun se, but the reflexive pronoun is not affecting, in this case, the verb parar is affecting the verb to get sick, which in English, in Spanish is reflexive. Bueno, vamos a continuar. Vamos con, and as I said, we will learn this later if you are a student. If not, please go to our website and register for classes. Vamos con el verbo 68. Pasar. Pasar. Ejemplos. Ah, ah, ellos se la pasan jugando videojuegos todo el día. Se la pasan jugando videojuegos todo. Ah, ellos se pasan jugando videojuegos todo el día. Ellos pasaron por la casa ayer. Pasaron por la casa ayer. Mm, De, él se pasó de la raya ayer. Por favor, pásame la sal. Okay. Ah, A, B, C, D, E, F. A ellos les pasan muchas cosas buenas. Ok, pasar. So I'm going to explain this. Ellos se la pasan jugando videojuegos todo el día. They spend a lot of time playing video games all day. Or they spend all day playing video games. B, ellos se pasan, they spend time playing video games all day. Okay, so notice that these two are exactly the same. It's exactly the same translation into English. But A has a higher tone. Okay, I'm using something called a direct object pronoun in combination with a reflexive pronoun. This is what is called double object pronoun. This is advanced grammar, so I'm not going to go into this now. But you just need to know for now that if you use it like this, you are increasing the tone. You se la pasan jugando. This, in this case, it has a bad connotation. So they are frustrated because they keep playing video games all day. And part B, I'm not using the direct object pronoun la. In this case, it doesn't mean necessarily they are frustrated. They are saying that they just spend time all day playing video games. C. Ellos pasaron por la casa ayer. They passed by the house yesterday. So pay attention to pass by. And this one is not reflexive. In this case, it's an intransitive verb. So you want to use it as to pass by, you have to use it with the verb pasar and the preposition por on the place. This one is reflexive and it has a complete different meaning. It's an expression. D is él se pasó de la raya ayer. It's like saying in English, he crossed the line yesterday. Which, yeah, I don't, it doesn't need explanation, but it's an expression because if I try to translate this directly into English, it will not make sense. So it's like saying he passed himself off the line yesterday. Okay? So expressions in Spanish will not make sense in English because they are expressions. Por favor, páseme la sal. Please pass me the salt or give me the salt. So in this case, to pass is a synonym of to give something. It's not a synonym of to pass by. So different meanings, the same as in English. A ellos se les pasan muchas cosas buenas. A ellos les pasan muchas cosas buenas. F, a lot of good things happen to them. So in this case, it means to happen. Okay. So depending on the context, it will change the meaning. Vamos con 69. Verbo 69, que significa pensar. Ejemplos. Ellos piensan mucho. Ellos piensan mucho. B. Él la piensa todo el tiempo. Bueno, él piensa en ella constantemente. Él piensa en ella constantemente. Okay. So, pensar. Ellos piensan mucho, they think a lot. B, él piensa en ella constantemente. He thinks about her all the time. So in this case, it's to miss. He miss her, which is the same idea in English. It's not just to think, it also can also mean that a person is missing someone or something, or another. Vamos con la 70. Perder. Ejemplos. Ellos perdieron ayer. Ellos Se perdieron ayer. Ellos se perdieron el partido ayer. Él la perdió ayer. Él la perdió. Perdió ayer. Él perdió las llaves ayer. Bueno, él perdió la bicicleta. Vamos aquí para bicicleta ayer. Él la perdió ayer. Okay. Hey, ellos perdieron ayer. They lost yesterday. They lost the game, basically. If you just leave it like that, ellos perdieron ayer, I would understand it as a game or something similar. Now, part B is basically the same, but I'm making the verb reflexive. In this case, the reflexive pronoun is changing the meaning of the verb. So in this case, it doesn't mean they lost yesterday. It means they got lost yesterday. To lose a game, to lose something, versus to get lost. Sí, ellos se perdieron el partido ayer. Now, here is also reflexive, but I'm adding more context. It's exactly the same as B. You just leave it like that, I would understand it as they got lost. But if you give me more context, it means they missed the game yesterday. Like the game was supposed to be at 7 p.m. and they couldn't arrive home on time and they couldn't see the game. So to miss the game, to not be able to arrive on time for something. D, in the way it is here, I would understand it as he lost her yesterday. So that means that they broke up, which is the same in English. He lost her yesterday. It can also mean he lost the child yesterday or something like that, but you have to be more specific because if you just give me this sentence, I will understand there's a relationship that just broke up. Now, in this case, in part D, I'm using something called a direct object pronoun. I'm going to explain shortly what this is. Direct object pronoun is a special pronoun that replaces the direct object of the sentence. Remember that before I said that a direct object is the part of the sentence that receives the action of the verb directly. But you can also use pronouns to replace those direct objects. Example, E is exactly the same. No, it's exactly the same, but I'm giving more context here. So he lost the bicycle yesterday. In this case, the bicycle is the direct object. Huh? So you don't have to say in English bicycle, bicycle all the time that you are in a conversation. Instead of saying a bicycle, you can say he lost He lost it yesterday. So la is a direct object pronoun that can replace either a person, animal, or thing. And you have to be careful with the context, as I explained between D and E. So notice here that this sentence is the same as this one. Okay, because I'm using in this case the reflexive pronoun, the indirect object pronoun to replace the word bicycle. But here, the direct object pronoun is replacing the direct object her. And this is how it's understood. I don't have to explain the direct object because this is how it is normally in conversation. It is understood like that. If it is not, you're not trying to say that, you have to give me more context. So D, he lost her yesterday. E, he lost the bicycle. He lost it yesterday. He lost her. He lost it, referring to bicycle. We will learn this later on, so don't worry about this too much. We will get to it. I'm just giving you a small introduction. Almost gone. 91. Pintar. Pintar. Ejemplos. Ellos pintan muy bien. Okay. Ellos pintaron el cuarto ayer. Pintaron el cuarto ayer. Ellos se pintaron ayer. Se pintaron a sí mismos. Se pintaron ayer. Ellos se pintaron a sí mismos ayer. A, B, C, D, E. Se pintó ayer. El vendedor le pintó pajaritos en el aire al consumidor para vender el producto la semana pasada. El vendedor le pintó pajaritos en el aire al consumidor para vender el producto la semana pasada. Yo le pintó pajaritos en el aire al consumidor para vender el producto la semana pasada. this is enough. Ellos pintan muy bien. This one is they paint very well, which in English means they are good artists. It doesn't mean they paint houses. Okay. You just give me this in Spanish with that context. I would understand it as they are good artists. They are good painters. B, ellos pintaron el cuarto ayer. They painted the room yesterday. If you just give me this context, I'm not going to understand it as they are good artists. It doesn't mean English. I would understand that as they just painted the room. Okay. C. Notice that C and D are basically the same. Ellos se pintaron. Ellos se pintaron. But here I'm using the reflexive pronoun. The reflexive pronoun can mean himself, herself. It can, but it can also mean each other. If the subject is plural, then a reflexive pronoun in this case, not in all the cases, can mean each other or it can mean themselves or ourselves and so on, plural. Okay. To clarify this, to clarify the meaning of the reflexive pronoun se, we can say entre sí to mean each other. Or I can say a sí mismos to mean themselves. So this helps me understand that se doesn't mean themselves, it means each other. And this here helps me understand that se doesn't refer to each other, but to themselves. So sí, ellos se pintaron entre sí ayer. They paint one another yesterday. Okay. And it's reflexive. They paint themselves yesterday. Now, notice check D and check E. In both cases, the verb is reflexive as well. In this case, because I'm using a singular subject, I'm not saying each other. It's understood that is himself. He painted himself. D, this is an expression. El vendedor le pintó pajaritos en el aire al consumidor para vender el producto la semana pasada. This is an expression which means the seller fooled the customer to sell the product last week. So the expression is this one. Okay, this means to fool someone. And it's an expression doesn't make sense in English, but it's like saying the seller painted little birds in the air to the customer to sell the product last week. Despintar. Vamos con el verbo 72. Poder. Ellos no han podido estudiar. Ellos no pueden estudiar. Estudiar. So ellos no pueden estudiar. They haven't been able to study. Able to. B, ellos no pueden estudiar. They can't study. Okay. So, using different tenses can also change the meaning of the verb. So, the A is to be able to. B is to can. It's can. Yeah. Okay. Vamos con el siguiente verbo, 73, que es poner. Ejemplos. Por favor, ponga el plato en la cocina. Por favor, ponga el plato en la cocina. Y, ah, por favor, ponga el plato en la mesa. O póngase el abrigo. Ellos le pusieron una queja a su jefe ayer. Ellos le pusieron una queja a su jefe ayer. Necesitamos ponernos en el lugar de los demás. En el lugar de los demás. Ellos pusieron mucho problema en la fiesta. Pusieron mucho problema en la fiesta. Pusieron mucho problema en la fiesta. Ellos se pusieron contentos cuando la vieron anoche. Se pusieron, pusieron contentos cuando la vieron anoche. Ah, a él se le puso el ojo morado por el accidente. A él se le puso el ojo morado por el accidente. Necesitamos poner plata en el banco. Necesito poner plata en el banco. Ok, me tienes. So, por favor, ponga el plato en la cocina. This in English means leave the plate in the kitchen. Okay. It's kind of an expression because we say in a different way. Please put the plate in the kitchen. But in English means to leave something in somewhere in the kitchen. Basically, when it's a more general, it's like a room. It's not a precise object. So now compare A with B, which is exactly the same. Por favor, ponga el plato, you see? But here I'm changing the context. In this case, I'm not saying leave, I'm saying put. Por favor, please put the plate on the table. The table is not a room, it's not more generic. So in this case means to put. Sí, por favor, póngase el abrigo. In this case, it is reflexive, and the reflexive pronoun is changing the meaning of the verb, which means please put on the coat. Put on or wear. So to put on versus to put on something versus to leave something somewhere. But it's not just to leave something somewhere. It's the action of putting something somewhere inside a room is kind of the idea. Okay. It's a little more specific than just living. Ellos le pusieron una queja a su jefe ayer. This is an expression. They complained to their boss yesterday. So the expression is this one. It's an expression, you just have to memorize it. But if I try to translate into English, it would be like they put a complaint to their boss yesterday. Y necesitamos ponernos en el lugar de otros. This is reflexive. Okay. In this case, C, notice that C and E are both reflexive. Okay. But the context is changing the meaning. Okay. In this case, you can the thing place, lugar. This is something you can put on yourself. So it wouldn't make sense to put on a place on yourself. Or it's changing the meaning. We need to put ourselves in other shoes. This is the expression. Ourselves is reflexive. So it's an expression because you don't say exactly in the way we say it. We say like we need to put ourselves in the place of the others. It's exactly how we say it. Ellos pusieron mucho problema en la fiesta. This is another expression. This is to complain. They complain a lot at the party. Okay. Oh no, they it's not to complain, sorry. Pusieron mucho problema. They bother a lot. It's to bother people, basically. They bother or they gave too much trouble at the party. So they misbehave, basically. So the expression here is they put a lot of problem at the party. That's this present. That's how we say it, which means they misbehave. Sí, ellos se pusieron contentos cuando la vieron anoche. This is reflexive. Is reflexive plus an emotion. You cannot put an emotion on yourself. Okay. And you cannot put oneself in an emotion, kind of, but in the place of others, it wouldn't work like that. But you mix it with an emotion, it has a different meaning. It means they became happy when they saw her yesterday, last night. To become an emotion. H, a él se le puso el ojo morado por el accidente. This is advanced grammar. It's something called contrary construction verb. So the same verb can be done in many different ways. You can use it in the transitive, intransitive, reflexive, and as a contrary construction verb, which is something we have in Spanish, you don't have in English. But we will learn this later. In this class, we are going to call them VCC verbs. And I'm going to explain shortly what it means. VCC verb means, or contrary construction verb means that the verb flips the sentence. So normally it's a clause, not a sentence. A clause is an affirmative sentence. Normally is composed of a subject and a predicate in that specific order. But this verb, what it does is flips the sentence. So normally subject, predicate, but in this case it's predicate subject. That's why they are called contrary construction verbs. They also call them reverse construction verbs. In this case, what I'm trying to say here is his eye, he got a black eye because of the accident yesterday. To get a part of the body affected. To get a bruise is basically the meaning of this. And it's an expression, you have to memorize it. Necesito poner plata en el banco. I need to put money in the bank. In this case, to put, the same as in English, to put can be used in different ways in English. To put means to deposit. It doesn't mean to put something on top of something or to put on clothes. Vamos con el siguiente verbo, 74. Verbo 74 sería el verbo practicar. Bien, este verbo es fácil. So, ellos practican todos los días. Ellos practican todos los días. So this is straightforward. They practice every day. Is to practice. Let's go with the next one. 75. Preferir. Vamos a hacerla juntos. Serían, ellos prefieren levantarse temprano. Prefieren levantarse temprano. This is the most common way to do it. It's a very straightforward verb. So they prefer to wake up early. 76. Prender. Bien. Él se prendió de la baranda ayer para no caerse. Él se prendió de la baranda ayer para no caerse. Él se prendió ayer. Ayer. Él prendió el televisor ayer. Okay, that's enough. So, él se prendió de la baranda ayer para no caerse. He hold himself against the hanger, against the bar, I guess. Ayer para no caerse. So this one is to hold oneself against something, or to grab something to hold yourself. Is reflexive. So himself, reflexive. B, él se prendió ayer. Also reflexive, but if you don't give me more context, this means he got a little drunk yesterday. Not completely drunk, but a little drunk. C, he turned on the TV yesterday, to turn on something. Vamos con el 77. Preparar. Él preparó un buen plato ayer. Él preparó un buen plato ayer. Él se preparó un buen plato ayer. Preparó para el examen ayer. Se preparó para el examen ayer. That is enough. Entonces, preparar. Él preparó un buen plato ayer. He made a good dish yesterday. B, él se preparó un buen plato ayer. He made a good dish yesterday for himself. Pay attention. A and B are exactly the same. The only difference is the reflexive pronoun. So on B, he made the dish for himself, not for anybody else. A, he just made a good dish. It's not explaining for whom. C, él se preparó para el examen ayer. Also reflexive, but I'm using with the preposition para. Prepositions in Spanish, if you're a student, you should know this already, are extremely important in Spanish because they change the meaning of verbs as well. So in this case, él se preparó para el examen ayer. He got ready for the test yesterday, to get ready for something. Now I'm going to give you another example here. Él le preparó un buen plato. Mira, mistake, es un buen plato más que un, pero un buen plato ayer. Plato. Él le preparó un buen plato a ella ayer. So A, B, and D are exactly the same, but the reflexive pronoun changes the meaning, but also this pronoun can also change the meaning. This is what is called an indirect object pronoun. What is an indirect object pronoun? Is a pronoun that replaces the indirect object in the sentence. What is an indirect object? Is a part of the sentence that receives the action of the verb indirectly. So he prepared something. What he prepared? He prepared a good dish. So a good dish is a direct object. So the verb to prepare falls directly into a good dish and falls indirectly into her. Okay. So le is indirect object pronoun referring to her. And this is a little more advanced, so I'm not going to go too deep into this, but just to give you a small introduction. In this case, he's preparing, what I'm saying here is he prepared a good plate for her yesterday. This case is for her. In B is for himself. And with A, it doesn't explain. Okay. So, three different ideas. Vamos con la 78. Querer. Él la quiere. Él la quiere invitar. Sí. Él se quiere. Él se quiere invitar. Ellos se quieren. Ellos se quieren guitar. Ellos si quieren, así mismos. So, A, he, let's say he feels affection for her. If you just give me this without context, it means to feel affection for someone. But notice B is exactly the same sentence and just adding more context. Okay? In this case, because I'm adding more context, I'm not saying he feels affection for her. I'm saying he wants to invite her. Okay. Now, remember that la is a direct object pronoun that can mean her or it can mean it. The meaning of la would depend on the context. But normally, if you give me a person and querer plus la, I would understand it as her. You want me to understand it as her, you have to explain this better or give me the direct object of the sentence. For example, let me see, I can give you la quiere. Él quiere su bicicleta, bicicleta. So I can say he likes or he loves his bicycle. He feels affection for his bicycle. This la is a direct object pronoun that can replace a person, a thing, or an animal. So, as I said, explained to you before, if you just leave it like that, I understand la as her. But if you give me more context like this one, so as I said before, you don't have to keep saying bicycle, bicycle all the time. You can say he loves it. You want to say that, it will be exactly the same as this, but because of the context, I will understand that la refers to it, not to him. Él la quiere invitar. Él se quiere. In this case, he means he loves himself or he feels affection towards himself. It's reflexive. With more context, it will change the meaning again. He wants to invite himself. Reflexive. Okay? So in this case, it's to one. Ellos se quieren. In this case, se, because we are using as plural subject, it doesn't mean themselves. It means each other. If you just give me this without context, I would understand it as they like each other or they feel affection towards one another. F is exactly the same sentence as E, but I'm adding more context, changing the meaning. They want to invite themselves. G. Notice that se here, if without more context, it means each other. But here I'm adding more context and saying themselves. So With that en así mismos, I'm explaining the reflexive pronoun better. And I'm telling you that say doesn't mean each other in this case. It means themselves because of this. So G is they love themselves, not each other. Or they feel affection toward themselves. Vamos con la 79. Recibir. Recibir. Él la recibió ayer. Recibió ayer. B. La recibió la carta ayer. Él la recibió ayer. Bien. So, A, él la recibió ayer means he welcomed her yesterday. If you just tell me this without context, I will understand la, direct object pronoun as her, because we are talking about a person here in the subject. B, él recibió la carta ayer. In this case, it doesn't say he welcomed the letter yesterday. He's saying he received the letter yesterday. Now, remember that la can mean her or it. In this case, la, because you're giving more context, it doesn't mean he welcomed her yesterday. It means he received it yesterday. Received it yesterday. And I'm sorry for my English, since English is my second language. So he received it yesterday because we are referring to the letter, not to her. Vamos con la siguiente, la 80, el verbo 80. Recordar, recordar. La recuerda. Él recuerda la letra, la canción. La, de la canción. Bueno, I'm going to change this a little bit. Ella lo recuerda. Lo recuerda. Ella recuerda la información. Ella recuerda, ella recuerda el cumpleaños de José. Ella recuerda el cumpleaños de José. Ella lo recuerda. The first one, without context, means she misses him. Lo is also a direct object pronoun that can refer to him or it. And if you just tell me this, because the subject is a person, I would understand it as she misses him. Okay? It's like saying she remembers him, but not exactly. This is to meet someone. Now, you can also say that she remembers someone, but you have to give it more context if that's what you're trying to say. And I'm going to give you an example here. If I want to say she remembers him, not she misses him, it will be ella lo recuerda de la fiesta anoche. Ya lo recuerda, ya lo recuerda a él. Ella lo recuerda a él de la fiesta anoche. So in this case, because I'm adding more context, I'm not saying she misses him. I'm saying she remembers him from the party last night. Okay? So in this context, instead of saying she remembers him from the party all the time in a conversation, you just say she remembers him. Okay? Versus she misses him. Be careful. These meaning changes depending on the context. Ella recuerda el cumpleaños de José. In this case, it's a little different. I'm not saying that it's the same example. I'm not saying she remembers him. I'm saying she remembers Jose's birthday. In this case, it's a thing, it's an event, it's not a person. Okay? So, lo, in the second one, doesn't mean him, it means it. She remembers it, Jose's birthday. Okay? Vamos con la 81. Regresar. Ellos regresaron ayer. Ellos se regresaron ayer por el libro. Ellos se regresaron ayer por el libro. Ellos son ayer por el libro. Se regresaron ayer por el camino. Ellos regresaron ayer. Bien, this is enough. Ellos regresaron ayer. They came back yesterday to come back. You are outside, you're coming back to a place. B. Ellos se regresaron ayer por el libro. This one means to come back for something, and it's reflexive in this case. So they is to go back. They went back for the book yesterday. To return. Okay. To return meaning not to return something, but to return for something. Pay attention, for, preposition por in this case. Or to go back for something. Sí, ellos regresaron ayer por el libro. So notice that A and C are exactly the same. B is basically the same too, but I'm adding a direct reflexive pronoun. What is the difference between these three sentences? Let's start with C. Ellos regresaron ayer por el libro. B and C are have exactly the same meaning in English. B, they went back for the book yesterday. C, they went back for the book yesterday. What is happening here is that in B and C, I'm using the preposition for or por. This is changing, the preposition is the one changing the meaning of the verb. Okay. So you give me A with the preposition por, it will be they to come back. The preposition por is to go back for something or someone, an animal, etc. Now, notice that B and C are exactly the same sentences. Se is a reflexive pronoun, as I said. Now, here, the reflexive pronoun doesn't mean himself exactly, like the action is falling on the subject itself. In this case, I'm using the reflexive pronoun to increase the tone of the sentence. So B and C have exactly the same translation in English, but the difference is that B has a higher tone. It's like saying in English, they came back themselves for the book yesterday. This is something you don't do in English, but in Spanish, we can say that to increase the tone. It means that they put more effort into it, more intention. D, ellos se regresaron ayer por el camino, is the same. You don't have to go back for a thin animal or person. They went back for the book yesterday. Yes. On D, ellos se regresaron ayer por el camino. In this case, el camino is the path. This is they went back through the path yesterday, through the small road. Camino means small road, basically. So, por. So in this case, in B and C means for. Por here means true. So if you are a student with us, you should know already that por has hundreds of different meanings in Spanish and for that different translations into English. And you just have to learn how to use this preposition correctly. Ellos regresaron ayer por el camino. It's exactly the same sentence. Both of these, the same translation. I'm just using the reflexive pronoun here to increase the tone. Saying they went back themselves through the road yesterday. Yeah. So I'm saying themselves, not as reflexive, but to increase the tone. F, ellos regresaron el libro ayer. In this case, they returned the book yesterday. I'm not using the preposition por in this one. So I'm returning something. Person, animal, thing. Okay. It's not, pay attention to return in English can be a synonym of going back. They to come back. Sorry, to return can be a synonym of to come back. But in this case, to return is to means to give something back, to give a physical object back. It could be abstract too, obviously, but person, animal, or thing, to return a baby maybe, but you get the idea there. So this is to return a person, animal, or thing. Okay. It's not to return home. To return home is this one. It's an intransitive verb. This one is a transitive verb. Vamos con 82. Repasar. Repasar. Pasar. Necesitamos repasar la lección. Necesitamos repasar la lección. And it's straightforward, we need to review the lesson. Vamos con el verbo 83. 83, repetir. Por favor, repita que no le escuché. Que no le escuché. Please repeat that again here. Straightforward. Vamos con 84. Romper. Ellos rompieron ayer. Bien. Ellos un vaso ayer. Ellos se rompieron un brazo ayer. Ellos rompieron la barrera del sonido ayer. La barrera del sonido ayer. El vaso se rompió ayer. A, ellos rompieron ayer. They broke up yesterday. B, exactly the same. Ellos rompieron. Ellos rompieron. But here I'm giving you more context. And it doesn't mean they broke up. It means they broke a glass yesterday. Sí, ellos se rompieron un brazo ayer. B and C are exactly the same, but this one is using the reflexive pronoun. So they broke themselves, they broke something on themselves if it is reflexive. That's the meaning. So in this case is they broke their arm yesterday. Or they broke an arm yesterday. D, ellos rompieron la barrera del sonido ayer. They broke the sound barrier yesterday. So to break doesn't have to be something tangible. I just wanted to point that out. And E, el vaso se rompió ayer. The glass broke yesterday. Now notice that here is reflexive. Okay. B and C means to break. But here I'm using the reflexive pronoun. This is another way to use the reflexive pronouns. Reflexive pronouns can be used in this way to indicate that nobody's at fault. The glass broke itself, basically. There was an earthquake and the glass broke and it broke itself. Nobody pushed it, nobody did it intentionally. Okay, that's something we will learn later. Vamos con la 85. Romper, saber. I'm going to give you here another verb, so because this can be confusing. So, él la conoce. Él la conoce. Bien. Él sabe matemáticas. Él sabe matemáticas. La sopa sabe bueno. Sí. Él se sabe la canción. Se sabe la canción. Él sabe la canción. Now, the first one, he knows her. The second one, B, he knows mathematics. A and B, to know and to know. So what is happening here is that to know in English can be used in different ways. You know you can know the reason why, the reason how of something, but you can also be familiar with someone's an animal or thing. Two different concepts. When I say he knows her, I'm not saying he knows how her. It wouldn't make sense in English. I'm saying he is familiar with her. So in this case, to know is a synonym of be familiar with. B is to know how, to know the reason why, to know the facts, to have the knowledge of. If to know refers to have the knowledge of, to know how, to know the reason why, and so on, it translates into Spanish as saber. In this case, él sabe matemáticas, he knows math. Okay? He knows, he has the skills or the knowledge of. Sí, la sopa sabe bueno. This is a complete different meaning. It can also relate to taste. So the soup tastes good. Sí, él se sabe la canción. This one, is he knows that song. Is exactly the same. He knows the song. Now, when you use it as a transitive verb, you can mix it with the reflexive pronoun to increase the tone. This only happens, you can only do this with some active verbs. Bueno, no, not with just active. Saber is a passive verb, but okay. You can use this with transitive verbs. Okay. A transitive verb is a verb that requires a direct object. So in this case, the sun is the direct object. So if you have a direct object referring to a thing, okay, something specific, not just a subject. Mathematics is a subject. It's a subject not. It has to be something more precise. A song, for example. You can use the reflexive pronoun to increase the tone of the sentence. He knows the song is like saying in English, he knows himself the song. Yes, it makes sense in English, but I'm using the reflexive pronoun here to increase the tone of the sentence to show more intention. Vamos con el siguiente verbo, verbo 86. 86. Salir. Él salió por la puerta trasera ayer. Él se salió por la puerta trasera ayer. Él se salió con la suya ayer. Él salió una espinilla en la frente ayer. Salió una espinilla en la frente ayer. Salió una espinilla en la frente ayer. Bien, relacionar. So, salir. Él salió por la puerta trasera ayer. He left through the back door yesterday. Or, pay attention here. To live through. Él se salió por la puerta trasera ayer. It's exactly the same sentence, A and B, but in this case, I'm using the reflexive pronoun to increase the tone of the sentence. So in this case, I said before, you need a transitive verb most of the time to use the reflexive pronoun se, but not in this case. This verb salir in this case is not considered a transitive verb. It's a intransitive verb. So let's think of this one as an exception. Okay. So B, he left himself through the back door yesterday. Here I'm increasing the tone of the sentence. Él se salió con la suya ayer. This is an expression common in Colombia, and other countries may have this, something similar. So, él se salió con la suya ayer. In English, it's like saying he just escaped the consequence of his actions. I don't know if there's an expression for that in English. If there is, leave that in the comments. But that's the meaning of it. And it's an expression, so it's not going to translate well into English. You just have to memorize it. A él le salió una espinilla en la frente ayer. In this case, you can think of it as an expression too, and this is a VCC verb, contrary construction verb. VCC stands for verbo de construcción contraria. This is how we call it in this class. Verbo de construcción contraria. Construcción contraria or reverse in some cases. Verbo de construcción contraria, which in English means contrary construction verb. So in this case, I'm using the verb salir as a VCC verb, which is similar to the verb gustar. If you're familiar with the verb gustar, then you will understand this better. If you are not, we will know that later. But here, because I'm using it as a VCC, I'm changing the meaning. A él le salió una espinilla en la frente ayer. He got a pimple on his forehead yesterday. So to understand this and better on how to use it, in English, it's like saying a pimple on his forehead came out yesterday. So came out of his body, kind of the idea. So it's an expression, it's something, this is how we think, but it's not precisely how you think in English. Bueno, vamos con el último verbo, es el verbo 87. Seguir. El detective siguió al sospechoso toda la noche. Detective siguió al sospechoso toda la noche. Sospechoso toda la noche. Detective aún sigue siguiendo, sigue detrás del detective, aún sigue detrás del sospechoso. detrás de sospechoso. Ellos siguen estudiando. Ellos siguen estudiando. Okay. Let's go with these ones. Seguir. We can have different meanings. So, el detective siguió al sospechoso toda la noche. The detective followed the witness. Not the witness. The detective followed the suspect all night. B. The detective still keeps going behind the suspect. Okay. And C, ellos siguen estudiando, they continue studying. Okay. So it can mean to follow, to keep doing something, or to continue doing something. So, and you have to be careful how you use it. It can the meaning changes according to the context. So that's C. So they continue studying. In English, this is progressive tense, present progressive. It's an action that is happening now and continues happening. I can also say in English, he's studying, which is also present progressive. Not many verbs allow another verb in the gerund form to form the progressive form or the progressive tense. The verb seguir is one of those, to continue, which is the same in English, can also be used to form the progressive tense, which is something we will learn in more detail later. Ellos siguen estudiando. They continue studying. The detective still keeps going behind the suspect. Or the detective continues going behind the suspect. Okay. Here in English, B keeps going, it continues going, is progressive tense. But in Spanish, you can think of it as an expression because it's not progressive. It's understood that it's progressive, but I'm not using any verb in the gerund form. Okay. So I'm just saying the detective continues behind the suspect. That's it. And I'm not saying he continues going. Which I think something you may say in English as well, the detective still continues behind the suspect. I guess you can also do that in English. If I'm wrong and I translated this in English incorrectly, just let me know in the comments. El detective siguió al sospechoso toda la noche. This one is to follow, not to continue. So be careful here. So the detective is not doesn't continue doing something, just following, which is different. And that was it for today. If you have any questions, leave them in the comments. As I explained before, English is my second language. If you think I have made a mistake with any of the translations here, let me know in the comments. I will appreciate it, and I will try to get back to you as soon as possible. I'm Juan Paulo from Espanol and English Private Tutoring. If you like this video, give it a like and comment if you want. We are kind of busy and we may not be able to respond to you in a timely manner, but other people may be able to respond. If you are a student, you know what to do. You can ask questions in class. If you want to become a student with us, please visit our website at espeng.net. Okay, bye everybody. Have a good day.